Alright, so time looping has been going on for a long time, and it was a favorite tool and weapon that could be used for evil purposes in the wrong hands, like CIA to entrap an individual, splinter their consciousness further, making them easier to control and use. There's a white bridge at Hilton Head, South Carolina, HH code 88, time travel, and this bridge was also used sometimes for time loop and parts of Disney. And I was dragged across that bridge slowly by two agents and hid from an old lady in one of those lounge rooms and called 911 to see what would happen. So for a while, police were under the CIA's control at Hilton Head and wouldn't even come to the area anymore. And as kids were slaves there and sent off onto boats. So in time looping, some of the kids learned how to do this organically and to bring everything back into Yahuwah's timeline. And the ones who learned to bypass the circuitry of this tech would go on to further dismantle evil programs instituted by man and the evil entities that lorded over them, and others making them called, they were system breakers then. They had spirit tech instead of the biolab tech. Since half the world is clones by now, God shaves off portions of our time as he did for the victims in the programs to give them a hope and a future, because he gives life to whomever he pleases, while also adding to their youth and what was stolen from their humanity, and bringing them back and all their bodies into congruency, so that they could continue their God-given and ordained missions they received from the throne of God as a reflection of the living water as they looked into the fountain of living water. That's where we received our missions and our life files for earth. Matthew 24:22 says, "Except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened." And it's in the sanctification process, as we write the words in our hearts, that it becomes like heart glyphs, smoothing out the rough edges in the inner man and going deep as we drink deeply, so that his oil can reach those dark places that we hide from God and from others. And he says, "Take heart, seek the heart of God, and then the kingdom of heaven, and all other things you desire will be added unto you." Because then your desires themselves become more pure in their intent. So our hearts have to be tested, proven, so our minds and hearts, our spirit and soul can live in renewal to what God has to show us. And then we become refined instead of conformed to the pattern of this world. Our heart, guarded by God's shalom, is a fortification, and we magnify him and reveal his heart to others in this process. We can easily cast out spirits then and not let the spirit of lying take root in our lives or persuade us. Our hearts won't fail us in the end if we're in alignment with the Most High, and God sees what's written in our hearts as his word works in our hearts and makes us more alive and gives seat when we start giving seat and place in the altar of our hearts for his glory to rest in, and then the Shekinah power to operate through. And some references to the soul hunters and shapeshifters that have to do directly with the trafficking problem in the world are Micah 3:2, "You who hate good and love evil, who tear off their skin from them and their flesh from their bones." Habakkuk 3:16, "I heard my inward parts trembled, as the sound my lips quivered. Decay enters my bones, and in my place I tremble. Because I must wait quietly for the day of distress, for the people to arise who will invade us." 1 Kings 17:22, "And the Lord listened to the voice of Elijah, and the life of the child came into him again, and he revived." 2 Kings 4:35 says, "You can either live, dwell, or sleep in the dust." Then he got up again and walked once back and forth in the house, and went up and stretched himself upon him. The child sneezed 7 times, and the child opened his eyes. 2 Kings 4:35, "Your dead shall live, their bodies shall rise. You who dwell in the dust, awake and sing for joy. For your dew is the dew of light, and the earth will give birth to the dead." Romans 4:25, who was delivered up for our trespasses and raised for our justification. Beloved, we are God's children now, and what we will be has not yet appeared. But we know that when he appears, we shall be like him, because we shall see him as he is. 1 John 3:2. Transformed into his image and likeness, some of us have already tasted and seen the glory to come. He said his children would do greater things than him even. Even as he goes to the Father, he imparted these very important messages to his disciples. His fire of transmutation, transformation, crossover, and wonder-working power that changes our DNA comes from his essence, his substance, and by the power of his blood that has already allowed some of us to be translated and continue the work that's in our scrolls by his grace until the fullness of the quickening transfiguration where we will be like him with new bodies. His flaming wheels under the throne are his time wheels, calibrating and bringing all of creation into his reigns, and control and government out of chaos and into his corrective and perfect light. Our works are then tried at the judgment seat by the refining angel's fire, the fire that was in the burning bush, and with the fourth one in the fire, which was also in some of God's children on earth at times when it was needed and allowed. Some of these events that happened in the Bible like that happened again, maybe in a different format, but they've happened again. Not just to those particular people, because he's always working in wonder-working power. The fire that's shut up in their bones is very real and can manifest through fingertips, angel toning with the sunrise, and other means learned to connect with the realm of Yahushua HaMashiach of Nazareth. Ye of little faith, he still echoes when testimonies come out and people are suspended to receive the anointing in them due to their unbelief. Revelations 20:13. The sea gave up the dead who were in it. Death and Hades gave up the dead who were in them, and they were judged, each one of them according to what they had done.